June 20th, 2023. Earlier today, I found myself connected to a radiation machine. And as I felt the life leaving and entering my body with every breath, my surrounds were getting dull. But somehow, the smell was getting stronger. That's definitely old muggy hospital and a dash of clean chemical soap, I thought. That's hand sanitizer, the nurse said, meaning I must have said that out loud. I'm losing it. After having my third surgery this week, the moments of fading in and out of sedation was getting all too familiar. In this dance between manufactured dizzy dawn, death, and awake, my mind somehow caught a hold of this very vivid, clear picture. I saw my life flash before my eyes, and I had this overall snapshot that this life is so quick, and then it's over. This life is nothing but a wisp, a dream, a moonbeam. It's literally a blink of an eye, a snap of a finger, and in no time, we'll all be back with God. I look up, and there he is. I feel Jesus is sitting there. I see us. We're all sitting there talking about our memories and what we learned here on and in our respective earth experiences. And after a faint chuckle in that moment, I looked into the eyes of my Father, my God, and the Almighty Creator, and he asks me a few questions. None of them sounded like, how many times did you go to the store on Sunday? And what callings did you hold in church in your late 40s? And how many times did you text on your phone during communion? No, these questions were real. They were seriously real, gut-wrenching questions. Not ones out of guilt or remorse, but out of a longing, a wishing, missing, almost like a parent who watches a child just quit right before the finish line. And all the cheering in the world can't get them to take that last step. My son, this amazing life we've created for you, all of this was for you. These beautiful sunrises and sunsets, the color of pure molten orange from fresh volcanic lava, the sounds of the translucent turquoise ocean crashing into the mystic black sand beaches, the clean, refreshing smell of the powerful rush of a waterfall mist as it brushes its breath against your skin. All of these pictures, like a photo album, flashed quickly before my eyes as the handyman of the stars spoke his miracles to me on this earth like it was his pastime. It seemed like hours, but it was only a few minutes. Tell us, the creator of the universe stares deep into my soul, and with sage parents' wisdom, but anticipation of the first day of school questioning, he leans forward on his chair, and eagerly he repeats himself in a thundering, excited whisper. Tell us about your greatest magical adventure. That was the question. What did you learn? What did you gain more light and knowledge when you left us the first time? What intelligence has you gained? And did you deeply and truly give and share and help others feel of a most powerful gift we gave you? Love. Flatline. I wake up to the nurse saying, he's awake, get him some more crackers, and he's going to ask for Dr. Pepper again like he did the last 3 times and tell him the answer is still no. As I wipe the groggy sleep of death from my eyes, poison in my veins, nothing seemed real here. In this hospital room, it seemed foggy. But the irony was, while I was dreaming, sitting with the master, everything was real. The more I came to, the reality started to flip-flop, and I was back in real life, or was I? Everything faded away except this one resonating idea and feeling. That idea of the final question. The question being, what was your greatest magical adventure? Took a hold of my head, my heart, and my soul, and it shook all 3. Because at this very horrible, low moment in my life, hooked to this machine, beeping at me, it felt anything like a great magical adventure. Luckily for me, I had known a thing or two about these magical adventures in my life. I knew that magical adventures are often synonymous with these moments of pressure. We've heard amazing stories from Jason and Portia about being when the FBI comes or the federal government to your front door, or when you're laying on the hospital bed. These moments of pressure, of failure, of pain and sorrow. That's where the magic happens. And if I can share anything with you today, it's how do we reverse engineer magic? Because that's where we're going to create our greatest adventure. Okay? So going back as far as I could even count in history, this idea of magic is not new. Pulling a rabbit out of the hat, yes, maybe. But all the ancient languages, when you use the word abracadabra, it ties back to the ancient language that means something along the lines of, as I speak, it is created. As I speak, as I think, it shall come to pass. In one way, shape, or form. So this idea isn't new. It's been around for a long time. So if I can actually help you understand how we can think, dream, and implement into reality, we can be magicians of our own right and take that into any adventure that we go into. When I was 12 years old, I had my heart broken from the girl next door. And much like a good father, my dad, seeing this opportunity to intervene and come give me some good, wise words of wisdom, he shared this idea with me. He said that life is an amazing, magical adventure, and like anything, there's always a secret formula. And if you know my dad, he loves his secret formulas. He'll get you close and tell you about this formulation, this idea he has. And as he shared this with me, when I was young, it resonated with me. He said, the first thing you got to do, you have to have big dreams. You got to have big dreams. And then you have to have insane vision and focus on that dream. The second thing you got to do, once you have that idea, that vision, you have to go work hard. Use energy, get moving, get in motion, heat up more than your situation so you can burn through any circumstance. That will create pressure, combustion. That'll create movement and magic. And then you pray. As you pray, you will never soar to greater heights than when you're on your knees. And that's sprinkled throughout the whole formula. Now, he believed this so much, my dad did, that in 1997, he moved my family I'm the oldest of 4 boys, and my mom, we moved to Heber City, Utah, where he could apply and show us boys how to work this in the law of the farm. Now, the whole universe, the whole world is all based on this idea of how to go create magic. I'm teaching it to you, okay? So as he got to Heber City and he saw this great North Fields back in 97, there was nothing there. He said, this is my magical playground. I'm going to go build this great big barn and my house. I'm going to create my dream. Now, as you go have this vision and we're going to go work to get it, we planned out how we were going to go do it. We got to go make these rivers and make the field over here and pull these rocks and do this. And this whole great plan was laid out. Then we got to work. But unlike my dad feeling like this was his magical playground, the Army Corps of Engineers had another idea, and this was their wetlands. And you can't go building your dreams on the Army Corps' wetlands, apparently. So that didn't stop my dad. He's one of the greatest magic men I've ever known. We went and we executed the plan. Come to find out, we went and had the vision, we worked hard, and we made it happen. We got shovels, not magic wands. And then we prayed and we waited for the rain to magically fall. And when the rain fell, the crops grew, the seeds were harvested, and the water filtered into these ditches. And all of a sudden, the wetlands turned into dry land, and the $10,000 an acre parcels that he had bought turned into $210,000 an acre, and Heber City got to build another stoplight. So as I've lived these magic moments, and I've seen this pattern happen over and over again, I've got 2 hacks to share with you. These are the things you're going to want to implement. That when you create that big vision, that big dream, there's 3 things you want to do. The first thing, when you have that vision, you've got to incorporate all of your senses. For example, if you have a car that you want to go drive, go to the dealership, sit in the vehicle, smell the leather, feel the steering wheel, turn it on, hear the engine, make that dream real, walk the property, dig the ground, feel it, know it, get the senses involved. That's the first trick. The second hack is something that I've made my career on, is teaching high-level executives this idea about the general's tent. General Lee, a great war general, taught that the battles are won in the general's tent. And that this is where you sit before you go out to battle or go to work and get busy. And in this tent is where we formulate these great ideas and we go execute. And lastly is having the holy cause. The holy cause is what moves you forward and what makes you want to go achieve that dream. It's the thing that moves you, okay? The second part is hard work. And knowing that this is the magic. This is the magic part. Is hard work creates energy, and energy creates friction. Friction to pressure, and pressure creates magic. Any pressure moment, failure, pain, beeping, flatline, anything of these great stories we've heard today all came from moments of pressure, the pivotal moment Jason said, was when it took off and he exploded, blast off, take off, right? So when I was in my low moment, I've learned to keep record of these things, and I wrote this out, and I'm actually going to paraphrase. But basically, in my journal, I wrote, in July 4th of this year, I said, have you ever wondered why, when you're at your lowest, the universe, the creator, you, all cause there to be extreme amounts of pressure? Sometimes so much that you think you'll crack. Sometimes you do crack, and that's okay, because it's how you rebuild that rocket ship and put it back together again. It's exactly how you soar. I was so fascinated by this idea, I got excited that magic is pressure. When you feel pressure of situational combustion, buckle up, because you are about to have a magical moment. That comes when you hit rock bottom. You can either take off and explode, or you'll settle to another low, because you haven't hit rock bottom yet. You've got to go through all the lows. And when you hit low enough, then there's liftoff. We have liftoff. Okay? So this pattern of magic is how this always works. Work, 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 get the vision, where am I going, and work to go get it. And then you get the pressure. The G-forces come on this roller coaster of life. Then you feel it. You take the L. You have the thing that happens, the horrible moment, and you can choose to wallow there, sit in that gully, or you can use it as your takeoff and blast off. That choice is yours, but you have to know that's a pattern. You cannot speed up or manipulate the time, but what you can do is you can tilt it in your favor by work. Work to create pressure is the magic formula, but you got to know what you're going to go get, right? So back to my idea of when my heart was broken as a 12-year-old. My dad told me, he said, in life, whether you get a goose egg or a magical golden egg, all depends on the chick you marry. And I've always been a hopeless romantic, so this idea of being in love was always a big deal for me. So I fell in love a few times. I thought I did. But I did have this dream once when I was 6 years old, and from my mom's journal, I stole this excerpt. This came to me when I was 6 in September of 1990. My mom has this recorded in my little kid journal. I was on my mission, and I went home and then went back to my mission after I was completed and to get my wife. She was a dark-haired, dark-skinned, dark-eyed Indian princess. I brought her back to Utah with me, and this was my childhood dream. 1990. I always had this idea that's what was going to happen. Okay? So then I had this idea, this vision, right, that I wanted to go get this princess, and I kept working for it, had these moments of pressure, and then I had this other moment. When I was 17, I had this dream. One night, I fell asleep, and I was walking down Disney World's streets, and out of my peripheral, I could see my wife, and I could see that she was pushing a stroller with a blue blanket over the top, so I knew the infant was a boy. And I took this little person off my shoulders, and as I looked at her, I knew she was mine. But she had dark eyes, dark hair, and loose curls. I knew she was mine because of the loose curls. My hair gets long, it gets curly. But she didn't look like me, but she was mine. I woke up in a cold sweat, and I turned over, and I jotted this down in that journal. And I dated it September of 1999. As time goes on, pressure happens, things go on, and I get on this other magical adventure. I end up in this place called Lawton, Oklahoma, of all the places, in Cameron University, in Theater 3, at this very moment. I shouldn't have even been there. It's another story for another day, but we were not supposed to be there. And as I sit in this specific seat, out of breath, the people start filing in, and I look up, and this woman walks in. Time stopped and stood still. It was the same woman from my dream when I was young. And I turned to my companion and said, I'm going to come back and marry that girl. That's my wife. He says, you're crazy. So we left. I didn't get her name. I didn't get her number. I didn't know where she lived. I didn't know anything about her. I didn't want to know. I wasn't supposed to know. And I went 3 hours back north to the reservation. Well, I get a call 3 days later from a mission president. He says, Elder Holmes, I need you to head out to Wichita Falls, Texas. Go be the zone leader down there. I said, great. Pack up my stuff. Go to Wichita Falls. I'm sitting there. And in church the first day, I look up, and sure enough, here comes the same beauty. I said, you got to be kidding me. I go home. I call my mission president. There's a problem. He says, what? I told him the story. He says, let me get this straight, Elder Holmes. Does she know you exist? I said, no. Does she know your name? No. Does she know you're talking to me? Does she even know anything? I said, no. Listen, you can't help it if a bird flies over your head, but you can definitely help it if it builds a nest in your hair. Don't let it build a nest. You're supposed to be there for a reason. Figure it out. Don't mess it up. Hung up. Okay? So then I went back to my dad's formula of magic. I got to pray. I prayed. As I prayed, I had a distinct impression. Keep a record for the hard times, for they'll surely come. As I wrote that down, and I kept the record, and that's what I did. I ended up keeping that record. Well, as time went on, we were in this event about 6 months later, and I got asked about my family and where I was from, and I said, I got 4 brothers, my mom loves us all, like, oh, your poor mom. I said, it's okay, she's gonna have a little girl sometime. How do you know that? I'm sharing this with the group. I said, well, I had this dream that I had this little girl on my shoulders at this Disney World event, and I took her off, and I looked at her, and she had brown eyes, brown hair, and at the same time, that girl was in the room. We both said, loose curls. She drops the knife and walks out in a rush, and I was like, abracadabra? Like, what? To my surprise, I didn't know what she was talking about. I end up finishing my mission, and I head home, and it's my birthday, and I ended up going back home, and again, I didn't get her number or name, or I knew her name, but I didn't get her number. So when I get home, there's a package on my bed, and I open it up, and it's a 3-page letter, and a pair of basketball shorts, and a CD, and the letter basically says, first time I saw you, the world stood still. I knew I was going to marry you. If you feel the same way, call me. If not, I hope I never see you again. I called her. We spoke from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. All the conversations that we never had, do you remember, hey, that time that we were in the room and you dropped the knife when I had the loose curls? What was that loose curl? What happened? She says, hold on. She goes and gets her journal. She reads it to me. She says that there's a little girl in her dreams at this Disney World event, and she knew it wasn't her because she has straight hair, and this little girl had curls. It was the curls that was the defining factor, magic. And as we started to notice, we said, sounds great, let's get married. And a year later, we were married, we lived happily ever after. Well, as time goes on, this little girl, I end up taking her to Disney World, and in a moment of magic, she lays a kiss on me, just like my dream. So I ask you, I tell you, when that great moment comes, when you weather that moment of pressure and you have that moment where you sit there with the great Creator and He asks you, what was your greatest adventure? Can you say that I added magic to it? Can you lean forward on your chair and say, it was a magical adventure? I hope you do, because for me, my greatest adventure, house lights please, you look now, and I've got my wife and my little girl from my dream and my son. The next one was a boy. And we've had 2 more little blonde-haired, blue-eyed kiddos. And my life is a magical adventure, and so can yours. Thank you.